additional one. Oh, sorry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:30, and I will call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. It is our tradition to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have announcements for our upcoming meetings. Regular council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, July 17th and Monday, August 6th. And we're meeting on August 6th on Monday because on Tuesday, August 7th, is our night to unite. And all the meetings are at 6:30. We have a work session scheduled for Tuesday, July 10th at 6:30 p.m. And we're going to have a recognition of our commissioner who is retiring. And so I'm going to do that from there, and then we have a presentation that's going to be made. Members of the council, staff, and citizens of Burnsville, we have a retiring commissioner, and it is Mr. Wayne Hulsketter. Mr. Hulsketter, if you could come forward, please. And Mr. Hulsketter has served the city of Burnsville as the HOC Design Review Committee from 2003 to 2012. And if you can think back in a review of all of the things that have happened, I mean, in the 54-acre site in the heart of the city, and how you have helped us shepherd all of that development, the park, the Performing Arts Center, and all of that. You have done immeasurable work. And we thank you for all of the work that you have done and for all of your talent and the resources that you brought to this effort. So, Wayne, I can't thank you enough on behalf of the council and the citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you. I get a hug. Thank you so much. Okay. And you have something to present?
Yes, we have something. It's been an interesting ride, this Heart of the City and the design review, and we've done a lot. But we're on to new things, and that is the Performing Arts Center. And I think most of you know that I chair the Friends of the Burnsville Performing Arts Center. And when we started almost 6 years ago, we started to raise money for capital improvements to the facility. And we did a pretty decent job of that, raising over $400,000 in cash and in kind. We then shifted our efforts to, programming and support for nonprofits. And we have supported Dakota Valley Symphony, Twin City Ballet, to help them, and a number of others, to help them afford to use the Performing Arts Center as their home. Our efforts in programming continue. We have sponsored the Navy concert, which was a free event. It was a co-sponsor with the Burnsville Community Foundation. We have also held a couple of concerts, one with Christopher O'Reilly, but the significant part of that was to the master class that he conducted for some aspiring students. Most people don't know I was part of that program. Which leads me to really announcing, if you will, or talking about our new program, which is the All Access program. This is a program by which we provide free tickets to people who, and children in particular, who couldn't ordinarily afford to go to the Performing Arts Center. We have, to this point, we sponsored a number of children come to the Spencer Magic Show, the Wizard of Oz ballet, and I think one other one. This is an important program, and which is where our primary focus is. We're going to raise money to help others enjoy the opportunities and introduce them to the arts at the Performing Arts Center. After all, the Performing Arts Center was built for the community, even those who couldn't afford to come. And we want to help them do that. So we invite everybody to join with us. Just think, a contribution of $50 will provide access for 4 children to the Wizard of Oz or the Nutcracker. You can do it online at fobpac.org. That's FOBPAC. Now to the moment in hand. We talked about programming. We have sponsored our own programming, but we've been very supportive and very excited about the Angel Fund, where money has been raised from Pepsi, Venue Works, the Ricksmans, and been matched by the EDA. And this has afforded the PAC the opportunity to sponsor a bunch of programs. New series is about to kick off. Well, FOBPAC is about to present to the mayor a check for $5,000. And we expect a matching fund from the EDA for another $5 to increase the Angel Fund. This is a terrific program. And so far, the Angel Fund has proved to be, I won't say profitable, but they haven't lost any money. And they've done very well, and there's some exciting programs in the 2012-2013. Mayor, a check.
Thank you so much, Mr. Elskatter. Thank you so much. And here's the check.
And my colleague,
Yes.
Dr. Manley, who is the treasurer, who writes all these checks and keeps us honest, is here as well. So,
Thank you, Dr. Manley, and you too have been a part of this journey all along, both of you. For 18 years we've been working on all of this stuff, from the skateboard park and you all, for the kids. So thank you so much for helping the community. And so Heather, our CFO. And the next item is citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on an item that is not on the printed agenda and not an application form that will be coming before us at a future date. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council? Please come forward and give us your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Vaughn Wallace. My wife, Jennifer, we're from Lakeville. We operate a
you.
business in Burnsville.
Welcome.
Trying. I want to thank you for the opportunity to come before you and present a comment.
Yes.
I would have requested that this be put on the agenda at some point, but recent events in the last 9 days have made it necessary for me to come at this point in time. Basically, I want to apologize because all of this frustration that I'm experiencing right now is brought upon myself. That's because I alone had thought I understood the city code well enough that I knew how to proceed in the launching of my business, which is to take place later this week. Also, I wasn't aware that our subcontractors would be required to obtain permits for working with me during the course of our business, as well as I guess I didn't completely understand the city council meetings in which the permits and licenses that I required wasn't entirely clear to me how I was to operate my business. So, in lieu of that, I'm just here to ask the city council whether they would review the transient merchant ordinance, specifically as it relates to those persons not operating as a business that are interested in sharing their crafts or their goods or their ideas or promoting themselves to the public, so that they don't have to incur a $50 fee to participate with us once or twice during the course of the season. We were looking forward to a nice opening this weekend, and we've had about 75% of our business drop off because the majority of that were these 1- and 2-timers that wanted to try our business out. So I know it's an expense. Certainly in this economy right now, seniors and charities, they can't afford a $50 upfront expense like that. So I was hoping that the council would review that particular amendment and maybe find some sort of exception, much like the exception in that ordinance that farmers growing their crops in the state of Minnesota would be exempt. That's all I have, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Because we saw the emails flying back and forth, and we cannot respond to you because of the law. We cannot have a serial meeting. So we did not respond to you or reply to all. That's against the law. And I know that our staff have been working with you, and I believe that when you were here and you got your permit for the conditional use permit to operate and to also have the secondhand resellers license, you received that. And it was Councilmember Keeley who says this is okay, but all other ordinances must be complied with. And if you go back to and stream the meeting, you will see that. And so that is the case. There is a reason why we require in the city of Burnsville, and I believe in other cities as well, why we need transient permits. And we also need to have background check. But I'm going to have our attorney make sure that that is articulated clearly so that our residents understand that. But to ask us tonight, and I don't know, there's 3 of us here, to amend the ordinance and give you an exception, I don't believe, and I'm going to say is not appropriate for us to do that, because that has an impact on all of the other things that we do. And we must be very, very careful and prudent about how we make those kinds of decisions when it comes up this way. Before I go to Mr. Jamnick, you wanted to speak, Councilmember Gustafson.
I was a little confused with this as well. There were a couple different things that happened with this applicant. One was the PUD, which was the CUP, or was it PUD? It was PUD.
Amendment and
PUD amendment, which allowed them to have
Yeah.
resellers in there under a blanket, correct? And I assumed, okay, he can go in and do that because, and I asked that question of Jenny, is they treated like Antiques Minnesota and Touch a Home? Mm-hmm. And the answer was yes, they are. And so I thought, okay, everything's ready to go. Well, as it turned out, there's another ordinance, which is our transit merchants ordinance, that kicked in then. And that caused him to now have to have a license for everybody that's in there selling. It's, it's so difficult, and I feel your pain because I've been through this myself. When we get into new territory, and I think the city does a really good job with businesses, and I think we really try to bend over and help businesses the best we can. But every now and then, through the diligence, we find another piece of it that got missed, and especially when we're dealing with new products to the city. And so it takes time to do that. I've already requested of our city manager to put it on our roundtable for next week so the whole council can discuss this as to what we can do about it. But at the moment, you're kind of stuck like I got stuck one time, and you're stuck with the ordinance right now. And we know what it is. You got to live with it until we can get through it. But I'm trying to move it forward so we can get through it. And I can't tell you it's going to go exactly how you want it to go either, but the full council will have a discussion about it, which is what we can do.
And I appreciate that, because I wasn't looking for any type of snap decision or judgment this evening. I was
Okay,
hoping
because
that it
that's
would.
what I heard you say, was that you were looking for an exemption.
I apologize.
And so my assumption was that you wanted an exemption tonight. And it's, from my perspective, to make decisions like that is not prudent on our part.
No, I agree, and I understand the need for peddlers and solicitors and transient merchant language in the city code, to protect the citizens and residents of the
Yes.
city from, primarily door to door and those salesmen that come into town and blow out the next day. So certainly, like I say, this is something that we're looking for the long haul. We want to make sure that everybody can be a part of our business, enjoy it in the intended means that we brought it forth to you, and whether that's this season or next season, we just want the consideration to try to include, the 64-year-old grandmother hand-making jewelry, or the father and son, 4-year-old son that writes a children's book called Ducky Goose that wants to sell at our place. I just want to make sure that they have that opportunity in that venue to present their product to the public.
Thank you. Mr. Jamnik, for our citizens' edification, please, because I don't want it to just have one side of the conversation. I want people to understand
I think
both sides.
Mayor and Council, I think Mr. Wallace already indicated he agrees with, understands the motivation, that it is a customer protection or citizen protection, that we do a require for transient merchants, those that operate temporarily within the city, a requirement that they have a background check and register with the police department, so that if someone buys something from them, that we have at least a better chance of being able to track that down and have a proper response to the customer or the citizen that believes that they were taken or sold something of less than value than what they anticipated. That motivation is why the city has a peddler, solicitor, and transient merchant ordinance. The registration and license fee is $50. It's good for a year, but undeniably, if you're just going to sell postcards or hobby materials for one or two events, it's difficult. And we do have other special events, so we can certainly, council direction, look at it and make some recommendations. I haven't heard about the senior and charity exception being extended in here before, so we can try to look at that and maybe fashion some accommodations to the ordinance. But I think it would be appropriate that when we do that we consider all the ramifications of that, because sometimes when we act quickly, we do have unintended consequences.
That's right, and we don't want that. So thank you. We're going to be discussing it next week then, and we'll try and move through all of those issues. Whenever there's something new, like what you're bringing into our community, of course there's going to be bumps. And we've experienced that of late with a new business, and it's all of you wonderful entrepreneurs. And so we just have to make sure that we get at all of the issues, and also our responsibility is to safeguard the public.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time. Thank you all.
Thank you for coming in. Is there anyone else? Seeing no one, we will move on. And the next is for emergency items only. And Mr. Ebling, are there any emergency items?
None from staff, Madam Mayor.
Okay, members of the council? No. Okay. And the next then is the consent agenda. And this is a grouping of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes an item to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Mr. Ebling?
None, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Members of the council? I'd like a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please.
Move to adopt.
Second?
Councilmember Sherry makes the motion, second by Councilmember Gustafson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Members of the council, item 5 on the regular agenda is asked to be continued. And it was published, so I'm going to ask for a motion to continue to consider the provisional rental license for Lindahl Partnership for Country Village Apartments.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Gustafson makes a motion, second by Councilmember Sherry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. And that is the end of our meeting for this evening, and a motion to adjourn is in order.
So move to adjourn.
To adjourn. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
We have a budget discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, I
we
thought
don't-
you were going to be that afterwards. Okay.
No, no,
I withdraw
I-
my motion.
And it was my mistake. We usually don't have anything, but we do have a miscellaneous item on the agenda. But we have two council members absent tonight. And this is to an extended budget discussion from the June 26th work session. Mr. Ebling, it has to do with the discussion will have to do with the deputy city manager's position. And without the other two council members here tonight, shall we put it on the work session?
Madam Mayor and council members, we can handle this any way that you want to. It was our understanding that at least the intention was to bring it back at this meeting, but of course that was before we
knew that
had two other council members. We can certainly process it next week as well, too.
I would like for the full council to be present at that discussion, because it has to do with the budget.
Continue to the next meeting.
That's fine.
Yes. Councilmember Gustafson makes the motion to continue this item to the work session, and second by Councilmember Sherry.
Yes.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. And now, that is the end of the
Now I will
council's
move to
work.
adjourn.
And Councilmember Sherry moves to adjourn. Are you seconding?
We haven't been here that long.
Yeah.
Second.
Councilmember Gustafson seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Good night, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Okay.